Welcome back. Joining us now on our roundtable tonight is Republican State Committee man Christian Ziegler and Jan Schneider, a lawyer, policy advisor, and now Democratic candidate for Sarasota's seat in the U.S. House of Representatives. Thank you both for being here. I know this is a tough, no matter what side of the issue you're on with gun control, this is just a tough thing for this to happen in our state right down the road.
Thank you. It's a totally horrific situation. We agree on that.
Yeah, we definitely do.
I think everyone agrees on that. Now, first of all, I think a lot of people want to know, how does someone who has been watched by the FBI have access to a gun and an assault rifle?
This is a difficult situation. I mean, when you look at someone that's obviously been looked at by the FBI, it's very easy to say, well, you shouldn't be allowed to purchase a gun or shouldn't be able to pass a background check. But what you have to remember is he's a U.S. citizen. He has no criminal history that we know of, at least. And you know, the Second Amendment is a constitutional right, so there has to be a great reason why you need to restrict that right. And I don't know if there was anything in his past that really justifies that.
Okay. And now, oh, go ahead.
Hindsight is 20/20. The FBI gets tens of thousands of tips a day. They interview thousands of people. This is when I think you have to rely on friends, relatives, co-workers, community members to alert the proper authorities.
Yeah, do you think people in the community, people who are now speaking out after the fact, maybe missed that opportunity to notify law enforcement?
Yeah, again, it's easy, as Jan said, to play Monday morning quarterback and really look at this after the fact. Who knows what the signs were, but people definitely should be aware of what's going on and keep an eye on people around them.
And now, Jan, background checks do not apply if you are an unlicensed private dealer, such as at gun shows. Is this a loophole that we're missing?
Oh, certainly. And President Obama last January tried to get rid of some of these. The gun show loophole, the loopholes for online sales, the so-called Charleston loophole, the 3-day waiting period, and then you can buy a gun. Of course, it's a loophole. Whether any of this would have done any good in this situation, I will acknowledge, is questionable. But it's situations like this that bring back to our minds the need to get a handle on our culture of gun violence.
And Christian, your response?
I mean, it's a clear diversion of the issue, because when you look at him, he's, again, a U.S. citizen. He had his concealed permit. He had a background check. It came back clean. This isn't about buying a gun at a gun show, even though I know a lot of liberals and people on the left will discuss that, and they will debate that, and they'll present it. But that's not the case with this. That would not have prevented what happened this weekend.
Now, this was a semi-automatic weapon. Automatic, that military and law enforcement, that's not legal, but these semi-automatic assault weapons are. Should they remain legal?
Well, the problem with the AR-15, as I understand it, is it's very easy to convert into a near fully automatic weapon. I looked on the internet this morning and was horrified to see an open advertisement for a so-called drop-in trigger that will make it fire whatever nearly full auto means. Now, there's also lots of instructions. This was a legal weapon, and you are correct, a legal sale, but that doesn't make this particular weapon, which has been used in no fewer than 10 mass shootings in this country in the last 10 years, a good thing to allow unrestricted.
When you look at an AR and you look at an they call it an assault rifle, and they show the pictures and they look like, you know, military weapons, if you will. At the end of the day, there's a lot of guns, even hunting rifles, that look a little bit more simple, that are a lot more powerful than assault rifles, and there's no discussion about those. So I think that, you know, when you look at this, these guns, I mean, we can talk gun control all day long, but really we need to focus on what the motivating factor was. And now we're starting to see issues where his father obviously pledged support for Taliban. You looked at him, he called 3 times during the course of this to pledge his allegiance to ISIS. I mean, let's focus on what motivated this killer, because that's what's going to prevent future killings and future terrorist attacks. But there's no discussion about that. The president and Democrats want to talk about gun control, but we really need to focus on what the core is, and that's radical Islam. And no one is really pushing that, both in the media but also in the government.
Well, you do bring up a good point, because both presumptive nominees did speak today, and the tones were much different. Donald Trump took the tone of let's attack radical Islamic terrorism. The president and Hillary Clinton are not using those words as openly. Your thoughts on that?
They can both be right. I mean, you have 3 hot-button issues here. You have terrorism, or so-called radical Islamic terrorism, We have gay rights and homophobia. You have gun rights and gun control. I don't label so easily positions as you do, liberal or Democratic. I'm a pretty good shot, too. But it's a combination of all those issues.
But when you look at gun control, that would not have prevented what happened here. This guy was legal. He had no background, criminal background history. He had a background check. You look at the issue of the gay community. He was scouting downtown Disney, as there's reports coming out as well. So it doesn't necessarily mean that he's targeted. Those are all speculative. What we do know is that radical Islam had a part in his life, and that's what really motivated him to go kill. And that's what needs to be talked about. That's what needs to be focused on. And we have a choice. Either they're going to come take us out, or we can go to them and we can eliminate them. And that's what I truly believe we need to be focused on right now.
And what do you suggest? I know you're not going to solve the world's terrorism problems, but it's very difficult to, like you mentioned, Jan, that there are so many of these potential homegrown terrorists. Where do we even start?
You're exactly right. So it is a very complex issue. Now, I will tell you, I've talked to Navy SEALs, and they're very clear. We're either going to fight them there or they're going to fight us here. And when Russia decided to get involved with ISIS, somehow they found 100 camps to go bomb instantly. What we need to do is when there's an attack on our homeland, we really need to focus on declaring war on radical Islam and going all in to take them out. And we need to do whatever it takes to take out those camps, take out the communication, and shut down those microphones that they're really broadcasting messages into this country, and that's motivating those homegrown terrorists.
Even if I would agree on everything you just said, though, we do have a serious gun violence problem in this country. Better gun control measures would help eliminate 9 children are killed or injured per day in this country by guns. Most domestic violence killings are using guns. I fully agree with you, there are much broader issues, but we're focusing on one because it's mass shootings like this. We're horrified, we grieve for the people. It refocuses attention. We used to have an assault weapons ban. We used to have a ban on high-capacity magazines. We should, you're right, we should prohibit people on terrorist lists from being able to purchase guns. We can put them on a no-fly list, but not a no-gun list.
Yeah, so 2 things. Number one, since 1991, which is the high in the crime rate, violent crime is down 49%. And the murder rate's down 52%, yet ARs, assault rifles that we're talking about, are up 4.5 million. So it just clearly shows that those guns are not really causing crime as much as everyone wants to make it out to be. It's a very small percentage of crime. And the second thing is, when you talk about the no-fly list and the FBI watch list, the right to bear arms, Supreme Court said it, that is a constitutional right with the Second Amendment. And in order to take away someone's constitutional right, you better have a good reason. And you can't allow just some FBI agent or someone just to put you on a list that's going to restrict it. Flying is not a constitutional right, as you know, Jan, you're a lawyer. And that is a very different set of circumstances.
The right to bear arms isn't unlimited either. There are several Supreme Court decisions on that subject as well. No one is trying to take away the rights of legitimate sportsmen, or at least I'm not. I'll limit it instead of categories. Legitimate sports people, people on ranches who have very legitimate needs. But there's something very different between those weapons and a weapon that apparently had 100 cartridge capacity. This guy managed to shoot 100 people. Granted, it was over a period of time, but it took a whole SWAT team to bring him down.
We are going to have to wrap it up here. I know this discussion continues. We know that we'll have you on in the future to discuss this as well, but thanks for being with us tonight.
Thank you so much.